All right, everybody. I was just saying to our esteemed guest right now on Candidate Conversations, I know my Nana, God bless her soul, is watching right now, and she's like, you're related to all three of them, so you better treat them nice. And because, of course, we are KU, and we want to make sure that you stay informed, to consider the three people that we have here on the KUM couch, as well as all of the outstanding Guamanians who are seeking your endorsement as members of the 37th Guam legislature. So joining us right now, the incumbent senator, of course, Senator Sabina Perez. Hafaday.
Hafaday, Jason. Thank you for having me here
I
today.
have literally talked to you 700,000 times in the last 2 years, but this is the first time we've ever been able to see each other face to face since the pandemic started. So it's a great pleasure to see you, Senator.
It's nice to see you in person as well.
All right. Very good to see former senator, three-term senator, former Mr. America, along with a whole list of bodybuilding accomplishments, the one and only Jess Lujan. Welcome home, Jess, back to KU.
Thank you. I missed my set. It was right over there.
It was right over there. The buzz was about like 20 feet away.
The buzz was right over there. I missed it. No, this is home.
I got to say, where did you get that shirt? And are there any more like it? Because I missed out on that on Amazon Prime Day. That's a fantastic island
You know, my sister got this for me.
Okay.
She says, you know what? Every time I tell you to wear something nice, you buy something that's really ugly. And so she got me a shirt. She goes, this is my gift to you.
That's a campaign shirt, man, if ever there was one. Very, very nice.
So my sister Renee, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you, Renee. Good job. And of course, Michelle Hope Taitano, who I have not seen in quite a while, but a very good friend of mine and a very, very esteemed member of our community. So Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great jacket, I must say. We like to point out fashion here on Candidate Conversations.
Okay.
That's a nice jacket.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Always good to see you. Always good to be here.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for your work here.
Okay.
The guys in the back, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, we'd like to give each of these accomplished, outstanding, honorable Guamanians 60 seconds to tell you a little bit about themselves, and we're going to go in order here on the couch. But first, I would be remiss because we're talking about fashion. Senator, those are some fantastic shoes. I know you said you didn't want to wear some like socks that would draw attention to themselves, but those are really nice shoes. Are those patent leather?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the compliment.
I'm a sucker for any patent leather shoes, all the way back to my ROTC days. So more important matters, of course, is your own campaign. So you have 60 seconds to tell people about yourself, if you please.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jason, for this opportunity. My name is Sabina Perez, Familing Godzo Cabeza. I was formerly a teacher, diabetes researcher, and medical technologist. I'm an incumbent senator. I served in the 35th and 36th Guam legislatures. I'm running for senator because I want to continue the work to restore our environment and economy and also diversify our economy through education, increase affordable housing, as well as local production, including food production, and as well as in transparency in our government. You can trust that I will continue to work hard using my expertise as a scientist and an educator to craft long-term solutions and to protect the public trust. I'm number 5 on the Democratic ticket, and I humbly ask for your vote to Duismasi.
All right, very well, Senator. Thank you very much. All right, to Jess Lujan right now, of course, representing the GOP. Jess, your hair has changed color, but I must say, still as great as it's ever been. You've always had a really good set of hair.
You know, I would like to say that it's, I colored it. But it's
I think nature took care of that.
Nature took care of it, yeah.
Well, what else, Jess, do people not know about you?
As you said, Jason, I served in 27th, 28th, and 29th Guam legislature, and worked here, did the buzz, both TV and radio for 10 years. And, you know, during the pandemic, actually prior to the pandemic, I was visiting my wife and daughter in the Philippines. I was stuck there for 14 months. And I thought, of course, you know, my days in public service have been completed and all that. I was looking at Guam from afar and saw what was happening, what the pandemic had done to our island and its people. And thank God the federal government had come through with you know, a lot of money to bail us out. And as I was looking and seeing what was happening and what not was happening, I was writing letters and things to government officials as to, you know, things that what is being done in other destinations to get out of the pandemic. And I said, well, never mind. You know what? Let me get back in the fray. Let me go back and help to get things done and help stimulate our economy and get people back to work again.
Well, a very noble pursuit, certainly, and one that many of your colleagues did in the previous legislature, along with Senator Sabina Perez. You know, like Joanne came back, Tony Atta came back. You know,
Chris Duenas came back.
Chris Duenas came back. Thank you.
So,
all right, so well done, Jess.
Thank you.
All right, to Michelle Hope Taitano right now. Michelle, what do people perhaps not know about you and why they should consider you when they head to the polls?
What do they don't know about me? Well, gosh, there's probably a lot, but I'm a God-fearing woman. Maybe they know about that one already. But I really love people, and I love our island, and we need to kind of make a paradigm in our process forward, because we are just, I know the pandemic hit, but we just really need to work harder, closer together, more collaboratively. And so my background is varied. I've got experience in, construction, housing, I've managed properties, and I've also been owned my own business in 12 of the United States, 8 states, 12 businesses. And so that's really challenging, because you have to know what you need to do in the states that you're going to be going into. But yes, I am number 5 on the Republican ballot. Michelle Hope Taitano, I do humbly ask for your vote. Thank you, Jason.
All right, very well, Michelle. And also not mentioned by Michelle, she also has a lovely singing voice. This I know, so I can vouch for that.
Gosh, thank you.
There you go. I've heard you in church and everything. Very, very impressive.
Aw.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
now we'll begin the Q&A section. And again, we'll start in the same order, and each of you have 60 seconds to respond to the following. And we'll start with Senator Sabina Perez. Senator, obviously you said that your academic work, you spent a lot of time in academia. You're a Husky, so you went to UW, University of Washington, great football school.
Right.
So you have an appreciation for theory, right? So I'd like you to maybe say, like, what assurances can you provide to the community as they consider you for another senatorial run, that you will deliver tangible, quantifiable results and improve our way of life aside from the theoretical?
Oh, thank you for that question. I actually did pass 20 pieces, or more than 20 bills in the last 2 terms, and they all dealt with the platform of sustainability. So one of the bills, the first bill that I actually passed, was providing critical funding for Guam Solid Waste Authority in their efforts to end receivership, which was important for the judge to make that decision. And so now we're seeing the benefits of that with the third cell being in operation right now. And so really I hit the ground running. I'm a hardworking senator, and my approach is more of a holistic approach. So what I do is I study the problem and then identify various solutions, and basically work towards all those solutions. So for instance, like with illegal dumping, for instance, it's a multi-pronged, we have to take a multi-pronged approach. And I've already started by increasing enforcement, and I've advocated for more resources to Guam EPA. The other piece would be perhaps is universal collections to reduce that, the temptation for illegal dumping. So that's the kind of work that I have done, and I'm a person of action as well.
Very well. I know from, I've received testimony, if you will, from many people, Senator, that they said if they ask for an audience with you and everything like that, you're normally very, very gracious in accommodating them. You know,
Yeah,
be
absolutely.
it an organization, a person off the street who just wants to, bend your ear about something. So that's commendable as well.
Absolutely,
All right,
yes.
thank you, Senator. All right, to Just Lujan right now. Just your platform, which I've seen on your website, which is fantastic, by the way. It's a 6-point plan. 4 of those points are very centric towards economic improvement,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And you have always been one to fight for economic diversity and giving us a better economy, combating inflation, job security, and job creation as part of your platform. Should you secure a seat in the 37th, how do you plan to helm us through some very challenging waters as we're probably heading towards a recession?
Well, thank you for the question, Jason. As you know, in my previous service in the 27th, 28th, and 29th Guam legislature, I championed the open skies situation with airlines and competition. As a result of that, we were able to get more budget airlines to be able to come to Guam, and people were at alternatives to fly. And one of my platforms as well is, and this is a great time to have it, is a waiver, at least in the Jones Act, I'm asking for a 24-month waiver in the Jones Act, because
Regulating shipping and governing shipping.
Regulating shipping, absolutely. The Jones Act actually is the umbrella act, basically, that governs even the cabotage and all that, right? But asking for a 24-month waiver, both the Trump and the Biden administrations got a waiver for Puerto Rico during the devastating massive hurricane that they had, and we have even a better argument to plead with the federal government to get the 24-month waiver to be able to do that. Now, okay, inflation is a contributing factor for sources vital sources needed. But not only that, but because of the restrictive Jones Act situation that's in place, a 24-month waiver, at least for us to be able to get the economy back in shape again. Yeah, and I definitely will push for that. Yeah.
And I know even in your time when you weren't a senator, you were still talking, like about the Jones Act and how it perhaps needs to be changed. Or
it was relevant then, even more relevant now.
There you go. All right, thank you, Jess. All right, over to Michelle Hope Taitano, fellow Republican. Michelle, how many times have you run for public office now?
Probably this is the 4th for senator, 2 for mayor.
There you go.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
What continues to motivate you to pursue this endeavor? I mean, you've done a lot of community service work, as you said. Like you've been a civic servant your entire career. What about being a senator is so attractive to you, and that you want to do that kind of work?
Well, I really believe that the mission is bigger than just myself. It's bigger, and we just got to continue to make better and bigger improvements. Jess was talking about the Jones Act, and one of the things I wanted to do too is be able to, God willing, I'll have a seat in the legislature, that we really need to work closely with our delegate so that we can not just get a waiver for 2 years. I'd like to seek for a permanent waiver, or just really stop it for Guam. And I know we were working on that in the past. So I'd like to see that and then happen and work it to where we can just really increase bring down our prices, and we don't have to pay those high shipping costs that affect all of us on island. And just be able to the mission is being able to not just have a new hospital, not just have a new prison, it's making it more effective in that you don't just have people in jail or at the hospital have healthier lifestyles, so we can be sustainable, holistically sustainable. And with education starting at the elementary and just building them up and building the kids so that we can also have them ready to be sustainable after they graduate high school. So yeah, just kind of different methods of programs that I'd like to see, because it does affect us, and we need to be a little bit more sustainable.
All right, Michelle, very well. Thank you for that. Yeah. Whoever the Guam's congressional delegate will be, obviously that's going to be a new person.
Right.
It's either going to be Talina Nelson, Dr. Judy Guanpat, or Jim Moylan.
Jim Moylan, yeah, woo! My team member.
There you go. All right, let's go back to Senator Sabina Perez now. Senator, as you said, you introduced and had 20 bills successfully passed. Of course, you have stood behind several more that your colleagues have proposed and debated them over the years. Which of those that you have proposed in the past that did not, for whatever reason, be enacted into public law, do you wish could have gotten more consideration and could actually be public policy now?
Yeah, there's only one of those bills that didn't pass, and that was the implementation of the cigarette stamp tax.
Okay.
And what that bill would have done, it would have reduced the delay in tax collection. So that's been one of my approaches, is to find out where we're under collecting and bring in more revenues to help assist with the government services. And so one of them was the undercollection of tobacco taxes. And there's two really models, right? There's a privatized model and the government model. And my bill was actually more towards the government model, which would have collected those taxes at a much reduced cost. And so what that meant was these increased collections would go towards more towards our vital services, such as Department of Public Health, the health agencies, the educational Department of Education. And so it was more of a savings, I think. What my bill would have done, it would have increased collections and provide more of that funding to much needed services, especially during the pandemic. And knowing our needs in education, it would have helped fund education as well.
All right, so again, just to reiterate those numbers, so you're basically 20 of 21 as far as introducing bills and getting them passed.
Well, actually, I passed more than 20 bills. So
okay.
Only one of them didn't make it.
Okay, I was going to say, ladies and gentlemen, that's a better batting average than Babe Ruth. So, just consider that, boys and girls. But very impressive, Senator. Thank you.
Thank you. And I lost by 1 vote. So I was shy 1 vote in getting that passed.
There you go. Okay, so back to Jess Lujan. Jess, you were talking about fair price competition, something that you've always talked about, even when you had a show here at KUM. Again, should the economy contract, how will you, as a sitting senator, work for fair price, for for vendors, for wholesalers, for consumers, and things like that?
Well, one of the things, Jason, of course, in jesselon.org, you would see that we still have a lot of money in a savings account right now. The folks out there, businesses, the LEAP program, the ARP program. I know that the administration is looking at building a new hospital, but right now there are urgent needs. Right now, urgent needs. I mean, there's a need, of course, as Dr. Shea said, to build up the delivery area of Guam Memorial Hospital, and we need to do it now. But we have urgent need for businesses right now to be able to continue to thrive, to be able to employ people. Likewise, in employees who are underemployed or unemployed at this point. Temporary jobs, we have these money for temporary jobs to use as a bridge until the economy picks back up. And we can use them to be able to clean our parks and to be able to have our streets and neighborhoods safer. These jobs will just only be temporary jobs. Work with the mayors to identify the problem areas in the community and give them temporary jobs until, again, the private sector picks back up, and then we re-employ them. But these monies need, again, that's why these ARP and LEAP monies were there for, is to help the community. And we're not doing as such at this point. We have those monies, put them out there to help these temporary employment until such a time. Again, it just provides a bridge to get us from this to full employment.
All right, very, very well-crafted plan, Jess. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
All right, and let's go to Michelle. Before we take a commercial break, let's go to Michelle Hope Taitano. Michelle, I remember when we were on this very set, you told us in 2018 that your platform's #1 priorities at that time were, and let me get this right, public safety, economic development, and health/education. Have those priorities changed now to maybe meet more contemporary issues, or are you still standing by those platforms?
Well, they're pretty similar because a lot of those still need a lot of work in them. So it's like education. Education will strengthen our families, our economy, and public safety. When we get the kids ready, going through school, they learn early. They may even be able to choose something they like to do at the elementary level, take it on to middle school, and then by high school, they're ready. They can come out and be sustainable. And then that will that's growing our economy and our own people, building our own workforce. And then they become sustainable. And of course, they can go on to university or more trades, but they will be able to be better at that. They'll learn life skills. So in addition to the core curriculum, I'd like to see programs implemented, and we'll write grants. I'm looking to see if we can write grants and do public-private partnerships with nonprofits as well, and to be able to work together with our DOE so that we can offer kids more opportunities so that they can get ready to become sustainable. So yeah, they're all kind of still there, Jace, but we got to spin it to a newer time because of the changes and more challenges these days.
Well, that's an interesting point, Michelle, because everybody talks about sustainability and they think of exclusively environmental issues, but sustainability is also applicable in a variety of other ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very well put. All right, everybody, we are going to take a quick commercial break. We are just scratching the surface because we will actually address more issues, including sustainability with Senator Sabina Perez. That's her big thing. So we're going to talk to her about that, and Jess and Michelle when we return. The segment is Candidate Conversations, and our esteemed guests today are Michelle Hope Taitano and Jess Lujan, both Republicans, and of course the incumbent Democrat, Senator Sabina Perez. And we start with the good senator for our next round of questions. Senator, one of the areas that you oversee is affordable housing. That's also on the bio that you put on our website. I'd like to pick your brain about the frequently echoed sentiment that they say, because of the housing market and the changes to the middle class is basically dropped out, and the only people that can really get a quality home these days are either the super elite rich or people that are on the lower end of the income spectrum and everything. And what do you think has to be done to improve that?
It's a great question, Jason. Actually, I don't oversee housing, but
my mistake.
I take a big interest in that because
Okay.
I see it as we have a critical shortage here. Obviously, it's very difficult to compete against housing vouchers from the military, so there's a huge demand on the higher end of the scale. And so we really, what I would like to advocate is for mixed-use developments in more urban areas where there's infrastructure readily available. As you can see, there's a lot of underutilized structures, commercial structures that are in need of renovation. And I would like to see more work being done in like Tamuning or other areas where there's you could live above your workspace. So it really helps to reduce the cost of living because you don't have to drive to work, and you know basically you live and work in the same area.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. I know a lot of big companies in the States, they've also put forth that idea of like, you know, what would happen, like I think it was back in the 20s and 30s in the US with like the mining community where you'd have an entire town dedicated to, you know, like that company. So I mean, certainly it parallels what you were just talking about. So
Right.
yeah, that's very creative, Senator.
Right.
Thank you. All right, let's go to Jess Lujan now. Jess, one of the touching points on your platform is you're very, very bullish on fighting crime.
Absolutely.
Explain, please.
Well, first of all, again, when we look at what's happening, what's ravaging our economy right now, of course, the pandemic has caused a lot of devastation to our economy. There is only one situation in Guam where prices are a lot lower and things are a lot higher. ICE is a low time low. Okay, and likewise, it's wreaking havoc in our economy, and the more ICE that's out there, the more crime you have. We are still in the public health state of emergency. I think the administration should proclaim a public health emergency in crime and in crime and drug use and ICE, and with that, we have to basically with that under control, you'll be able to control your economy a lot better, because as we constrict, our economy constricts, as the inflationary prices are wreaking havoc on our island, you're going to see more people resorting again to try to again relieve themselves of their anxiety, and a lot of them are turning to drugs, and as they do that, crime will rise. So once you curtail the use of drugs and by the proclamation of an emergency for that, you're going to reduce crime. And with that as well, people are not safe in their homes, and people in businesses are not safe as well. And we're seeing what's happening back in the mainland, and hopefully, I pray to God, it doesn't happen here in our island.
Would you support the reestablishment of the Mandania Drug Task Force?
Absolutely, absolutely. And likewise, when I talked earlier about these temporary jobs to have safer neighborhoods, is provide these temporary jobs in our neighborhoods and pay these folks to be able to again be like safety patrols in the neighborhoods. And these again will just take us, you know, they're a bridge to take us from here to when they start being employed, and then the economy rises, and we fully fund the police force to be able to bring enough folks in public safety to help save keep our community safe.
All right, well done, Jess. Okay, and on the topic of public safety, Michelle, I'd like to ask you, but with your long-standing work with the parole board, that actually has direct implications, obviously, on public safety.
Yes.
So. A lot of people talk about, you know, like refunding the police department to get more cops in training and then out on the streets, and, you know, like Jess's ideas on curtailing the drug problem. Can you talk to us a little bit about where your experience on the parole board, how that actually makes our villages safer?
All right. Thank you, Jace. Good question and good points. So when I was on the parole board, what was coming through, the folks coming out and asking for parole, they had issues with education, transportation, housing, and training, and then jobs, of course. So they're challenged with those. And when we set them out and they're not ready to be sustainable in any way, or even halfway sustainable, especially because a lot of them do come from the drug issues, and their families kind of have not trusted them. So sometimes they're not able to go back into their families. So therefore, they have to figure out what to do. And a lot of times they figure out, because we don't have a real support system for them in those areas that I just mentioned, then they fend for themselves. And so that kind of creates a little bit more temptation for them to go back to doing what they did. And so I believe that if of course, we're going to have the public safety side, the GPD side, but really not all of them, not everybody who goes to jail is going to be life or long sentences. They're going to eventually come out. So we're going to need to really develop extra programs to deal with the core issues, the root issues of why they're taking substance or why they are committing these crimes, or and a lot of them just really don't have education and the coaching that they really need. So I'd like to see and work with that a little bit more, because we need that in our community, because that will, when we get people sustainable and they have jobs and they're actively either doing community service or employed or doing entrepreneurial activities and businesses, then our community is safer. I really believe that.
Okay, very, very well done, Michelle. All right, guys, we got time for one more round, so let's go back to the senator. And Senator, of course, the one thing that you do oversee, this I know, is the environment. Oversee the environment. It's a multidimensional problem. So can you touch very briefly on, where do you see we Guamanians as being maybe more aware of the importance of sustainability and some of the work that now has been launched and undertaken to get us to where we need to be with sustainability?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we really need to connect the economy, environment, and the people together. I think if we can, take care of if we take care of our economy should be able to take care of the people and the environment, and vice versa. If we take care of our environment, it should be able to take care of our economy and the people. And I think this is the heart of sustainability, and this is where I think the work really lies, because we can address these issues as they come up, but really making those connections, I think, is what the hard work that we need to do to ensure sustainability for our island. So. One of the projects that I'm working on is, basically promoting alternatives to open burn, open detonation. It's an outdated practice, and there are already safer alternatives that exist, and other communities are implementing. And they just passed the PACT Act in Congress. And one of those things was the recognition that open burn, open detonation causes a lot of harm, health harms to our veterans. And also to the communities that are in close proximity, like in Guam, we do have an open burn, open detonation pit here in Guam. And I think it's really important to continue that work so that we can protect the health of our people.
All right, very well, Senator. Thank you very much. All right, Jess, your final question. You said you felt the calling to come back to public service and run again and reclaim your seat as a senator. In your view, has the business, and that, I'm using that term very loosely, has the business of crafting public policy and representing the constituency here, has it changed since the last time you sat 15 years ago?
Well, crafting policy hasn't changed in over the years. Crafting policy is a job of the legislature, but there are things that we can do right now in regards to policy that's in place, and either that or amend policy to revert back to things that work in a constricting economy. We still have things in place when our economy was pretty good and tourism was at an all-time high. I called in the administration to get together with the Chamber of Commerce and the legislature to see what taxes we can roll back and fees that we can temporarily suspend, because in a constricting economy, we still have measures in place that again were in place when we had a booming economy. And so you don't continue to do things in a constricting economy the way you did when you had a lot of tourists and more money in the economy. So I call, and could be done now. You don't have to wait for us to get in the legislature. Is right now call the chamber together with the legislature and the governor. What can we roll back right now? Let's roll back some the BPT, the GRT. Let's look at what fees and government fees that we can temporarily suspend or roll back until we get our economy back in shape. And one of the other things, again, that's underserved and questions are never asked is, how do we serve our veterans? One of the things that we need to seriously look at is how we can integrate medical care with either GovGuam or the federal government in their medical health care. And again, as our economy constricts, okay, and more veterans are coming out and living in our community, those the underserved veterans, lives are going to get even harder and even harder for them to access medical care and care they need. So we need to work collaboratively, not just with our legislature, but with the federal government. And how can we integrate some medical care for our veterans here in Guam? Because there are more and more on a daily basis that are becoming vets here in Guam.
All right, thank you, Jess. Let me go to Michelle for our last question. Michelle, you've also worked in real estate, as you said. Given what the senator said about the changing nature of the real estate market, as someone who used to do that work and probably still continues to do that work, where do you see that industry as a critical component in our island's microeconomy?
Well, Guam is really good. We're very tenacious, and we come back. Even the challenges for a long time, we've been in a housing shortage, and we are really, I would like to see, and thank you, Senator Sabine, because I really believe we do need that paradigm to happen in our housing so that we can help our people to either at least own property, and or some of them even are having trouble renting. And I think we need to also work with our federal counterparts on housing, the Fair Housing Act for Guam, because we have a lot of families here, big families. And I find that those challenges can come because there's so many people. There can be 10 people in a family. And a lot of times the owners and the landlords are not quite interested in allowing so many people on one property. So I believe that we work with policy, the federal housing, so that we can at least mitigate some of the issues that we have that are pertinent to Guam, and then we try to just get it better so that we can have a better housing economy for everyone. And the vets too. I would like to see Martin.
Well, you got 5 seconds. I'll let you
5 seconds. Vets, we got plans for housing.
All right, there you go. Okay, please stay tuned because we will wrap up the show and say goodbye to our senatorial candidates when we return.